and welcome to Asia Gaming Brief's face-to-face series. Today I'm talking with Anita Chan, who is the CEO of Compass Edge. Compass Edge is a company that specializes in online branding and consulting to the hotel industry, with a special interest in the Chinese market. Today we're going to be talking about domestic tourism in Asia and whether or not that's managed to fill in the void left by international tourists. We're also going to be talking about how travel is likely to open up again in Asia and whether travel preferences have changed as a result of the pandemic. Thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome. So firstly, how much has domestic tourism grown and how has it managed to fill the gap?
Actually, I would not say domestic tourism has really grown during the pandemic. I think everyone's pretty excited already if the domestic level is at the 2019 level. So I think everyone's trying to just catching up on the domestic tourism piece of business while the international one, has been shut down. So I would take China as an example, because we all hear about all the exciting story on how booming the China domestic tourism is, but you really drill down into numbers. Actually, for the Golden Week in October 2020, they are about 79% of the 2019 level only. And for Chinese New Year this year, because of a small regional outbreak of COVID in China, the local tourism, the domestic tourism is only at about 66% of the 2019 level. So as much as we hear good story about domestic tourism, people are doing catch up and not even close to filling the gap with international tourists. So if China cannot do it, I doubt if there is other Asian countries that can fill that gap that easily.
Why do you think that is? Is it just sort of ongoing restrictions or?
Yeah, it's definitely ongoing restriction, quarantine restrictions. And also, I think now, before people have to hope and saying, maybe without vaccination, things can open up. But now it seems like, the vaccination passport is the only way to go. So, they are waiting for enough vaccines, enough people to get vaccinated in order to open things up. So, that kind of slowed down the whole process. And now everyone is looking at that process in order to move forward.
Which country would you say was hardest hit in Asia in terms of their economic impact from the lack of tourism?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the countries that are most reliant on tourism revenue, of course, will get hit the hardest. And for example, Thailand, about 18% of the GDP is from tourism revenue. So it got hit pretty badly. Also like the Maldives, the Philippines, the Cambodia, they're on the same boat. I just want to have a special mention about Japan. We all know it has invested so much in its infrastructure for the Olympics. It's just really bad timing for them. Now there's no international visitors allowed. They don't even know if the locals can attend or not. So, but they still have to go on. So I think it will hit the Japanese economy pretty hard because of the situation.
Has the industry had to do anything? Has it adapted what it's doing to cater for the local tastes, given the locals are the only ones who can actually travel?
Yeah, absolutely. As we all seek out, to recover, both psychologically and physically, from the lockdown, from the pandemic, I think it is easy to understand why rural or nature-based kind of tourism will be favored for the domestic tourism. People want to get out, people, really want to, relax and things like that. So for younger people, I think it will be more the adventure type of nature-based tourism. And while for us, for most, it will be wellness, maybe do a nice spa, relax, and also, treat yourself with the, gastronomical experience, the fine dining. I think that will be the focus for the domestic tourism.
That's very interesting and probably doesn't bode too well for my section of the industry if tastes have pivoted. Does that mean that these big mega resorts are no longer likely to be so popular, do you think?
No, I think the mega resort, I think right now in the beginning, of course, we talk about social distancing. We talk about we do not want to go to anywhere bay. They may have a hit. But ironically, I do not know if you have heard, but there are countries in Asia like Singapore or Hong Kong that they do what they call the cruisation, the cruise.
Yes.
As much as we think no one will get back on the cruise in the short period, no, people are not scared. As long as they feel safe, they will get back on and they will have a nice cruise vacation. So, I think the mega resort is not as bad as people have speculated.
Now, how big, once we do finally get back to international travel, how fast do you think that international visitation will pick up?
I believe in revenge travel. In fact, I am actually one of the first people who talk about revenge travel back in March 2020 already. So I do believe there's pent-up demand. Maybe we are in the travel industry. To me, is as long as we know it's safe to travel, we will book the ticket, we will go. So I think international travel will come back, but it definitely will not come back in the same time. So, there's different arrangement, different government policy. I hate to say, but now it's not just, a pandemic thing, but it depends on how quick, which countries, each country want to roll out to have the bubbles, to have that arrangement. And that will affect the role, the rate that the international tourism is going to come back or not.
Right. Well, at least that's encouraging. You're obviously a marketing expert, online marketing expert. How do companies need to change their marketing efforts? What do they need to do to get back these travelers?
As we all hear from McKinsey all the time, actually the pandemic has expedited the digitalization. And whether good or bad, we know that everything can be amplified by social media. So, as a marketer, especially online marketer, I do think even independent hotel or smaller operators, smaller tourism operator need to focus on social media marketing, need to look at online marketing, or even properties for big brands. They should look into establishing their own brand presence online, even for the domestic market, and to grab the share. So I think that's, one area that they should focus on. And as I mentioned, I do not believe that everywhere will be opening up at the same time. So I think for marketers, we should follow closely on the government policy, look at their game plan ahead and see, which countries will be opening up soon, checking the flight accessibility, look at, that country, for example, China, what are the appropriate platforms? Like in China will be WeChat, Weibo, Little Red Book, those will be the platforms they use. And then to create some geographic targeted incentive programs and launch it out at the right timing. So I think for marketers, be prepared and then be successful.
So, obviously, a great deal of the industry around Asia over the last couple of years has been very much focused on attracting the Chinese traveler. It's been the key demographic. Do you think this will still be the case post-pandemic? And how keen will Beijing be to allow this? I think they've quite enjoyed the boost from domestic tourism, even if it's not as much as some people had predicted.
Yeah, I think the Chinese government, no matter, what kind of control they have, they will not restrict people from, traveling overseas. And I think historically, for some people who do not know, just a few decades ago, Chinese are not allowed to travel freely. So the urge to travel for Chinese is really high and will remain as high. So I do not see that, I think if the borders open up safely, they will continue to travel and that trend will continue.
What do you think their primary destinations are likely to be? Where do you think once they can hop on a plane, what will be the first port of call?
Again, it depends on the government policy, but Chinese care about safety. Is always the number one concern, even before the pandemic. So they would definitely choose a place that they think the COVID numbers, are not high. They are very much well controlled. And when they come back to their own country, they do not need the 14-day or 21-day quarantine. I think that's the basic requirement.
So, another issue obviously affecting, at least in the Asian integrated resort industry, is Beijing's pronouncements on pressure on its nationals going overseas to gamble. How much of an impact do you think that will have on choice of destination?
Okay, I'm going to say something not 100% political correct. Okay, I'm like in trouble. Okay, a lot of people may not know, but the word casino, okay, in Chinese are being censored in China. Okay, you
Ah,
cannot, yeah, it's banned. You cannot use the word casino because, like you say, the government will not encourage gambling. So, the word casino is censored. But does it disappear online? Does casino concept disappear online? Not at all. Okay. People are creative. People use entertainment complex to replace the word casino, and they know the meaning of entertainment complex. So, so to me is no one would tell you, oh, I booked a trip to go gambling. No one would tell you. But if they go to a destination that there are casinos, will they go in and gamble? Numbers will tell.
outside of China, are there any markets that have done particularly well in encouraging their locals to travel domestically?
Actually, Japan, there are a lot of countries launching a lot of local incentive. Like even the Vietnam, say Vietnamese travel to Vietnam, the same as Japan, they do the Go Japan Pass, which they stopped now because of the COVID situation. But all the countries, even Thailand, they put it incentive. And Singapore, Hong Kong, they give out vouchers, cash vouchers to encourage people to go on staycation, lucky draw, and things like that. I think all the governments are trying to support domestic tourism in a way because they know if international tourism borders cannot be open, then their operators, the tourism operators need to survive, and they do all the things that they can to encourage that. So I think, like for me who live in Hong Kong, right now I'm in Toronto, but, I do live in Hong Kong. I went on about 15 staycation in about 6 months. So, it is a little bit going crazy, but also because I want to try. But the staycation concept really is something that people will enjoy.
Thank you for joining us. Today I was talking with Anita Chan, who is the CEO of Compass Edge. Please join us every Friday for Asia Gaming Briefs face-to-face series as we talk with thought leaders and key executives in Asia's gaming industry.